Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Bio360. Today we will be discussing breathing and exchange of gases in NCRT. We will discuss each and every sentence in detail. So let's get started. As we know, oxygen is utilized by the organisms for the indirect breakdown of nutrients. Nutrients such as glucose, which provides us energy to perform our daily life activities. Carbon dioxide, which is a harmful gas, is produced by our body, by our cells during catabolic reactions. So there should be a mechanism for continuous supply of oxygen to the cells and to remove the carbon dioxide which are produced by the cells. This process where oxygen exchanges with the carbon dioxide to the cell with the environment is known as breathing. We commonly called breathing as respiration. Now let's see respiratory organs. Mechanisms of breathing is different in different organisms, as we know. It is mainly depend upon two things. The first one is habitats. Habitats means the place where organisms live, like desert, seas, oceans, rivers, etc. And the second one is level of organization. Means is it a tissue level, cell level, or it is an organ level, etc. So the lower invertebrates such as sponges, coelentrates, flatworms, etc. they exchange oxygen with carbon dioxide by a very simple process known as simple diffusion through their entire body surface, whereas our earthworms use moist cuticle. And insects which have network of tubes, it is known as tracheal tubes, which help in transport of atmospheric air within the body, whereas gills are present in aquatic arthropods and mollusks, whereas lungs are present in terrestrial forms. Among vertebrates, fishes use gills, whereas reptiles, aves, and mammals respire through lungs, whereas amphibians such as frogs use their moist skin for respiration. Among these, mammals have well-developed respiratory system. Now let's see respiratory system in human beings. As we know, we have a pair of external nostrils which are the openings of nose above the upper lips. It leads into nasal chamber through nasal passage. The nasal chamber opens into pharynx, which is a common portion for food and air. Pharynx opens through larynx region through tracheae. Tracheae which is a cartilaginous box because it is made up of cartilages which helps in sound production, so it is also known as sound box. During swallowing process, our glottis is covered with a elastic flap which is made up of elastic cartilage. It is known as epiglottis. You can see it in this diagram. This is our glottis on which a flap is present which prevents the entry of food into the larynx. This flap is known as epiglottis. Its name is epiglottis because it is present on the glottis, which is the opening of tracheae. So it prevents the entry of food into the larynx. Tracheae, which is a straight tube, extend up to the mid-thoracic cavity which divided fifth thoracic vertebra into right and left primary bronchi. You can see it in this diagram. This is the tracheae, which is a straight tube which divided into left and right primary bronchi which enters into the lungs. Each bronchi undergoes repeated division to form secondary, tertiary bronchi and bronchioles, which ends up with terminal bronchioles. The tracheae, primary, secondary and tertiary bronchi along with initial bronchioles such as primary bronchioles are supported with incomplete cartilaginous rings which are C-shaped. Each terminal bronchiole will give rise to number of very thin, irregular walled, vascularized bag-like structures. These are known as alveoli. These branching of bronchi, bronchioles, alveoli hold together we called as lungs. Lungs are protected in two-layered membrane. This is known as pleura, which is filled with pleural fluid in between them. Its role is to reduce the friction on lung surface. Outer membrane is in close contact with thoracic lining, whereas inner membrane is in close contact with lung surface. You can watch over here. It is the tracheae. It is the primary bronchi, and then later it is the secondary bronchi, then later tertiary bronchi, then later primary bronchiole, then later secondary bronchiole, then later tertiary bronchiole, then later terminal bronchiole, then later it gives rise to alveoli. The part starting with external nostrils up to the terminal bronchioles, we called it as conducting part. Whereas our alveoli and their ducts, they form the respiratory or exchange part, where actual exchange of gases occurs. The function of conducting part is that it transports the atmospheric air from the atmosphere to the alveoli. In this part, air is cleared with foreign particles and the air's temperature is bring down to the room temperature and the humidity is added into that air. Whereas the exchange part is the actual diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide between blood and atmospheric air. Our lungs are situated in thoracic chamber, which is anatomically a airtight chamber. Thoracic chamber is dorsally formed with the vertebral column, whereas ventrally by sternum and laterally by ribs, and to the lower side, bone shaped with diaphragm present. This anatomical setup of lungs in the thorax is in such a way that any change in thoracic volume or capacity will reflect directly to the lung or pulmonary cavity. Such arrangement is very much essential for breathing, as we cannot alter the volume of pulmonary cavity directly. Respiration mainly involves breathing or pulmonary ventilation. This is a process in which atmospheric air is drawn inside and carbon dioxide rich air present in the alveoli is released out. Second step is that diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide across alveolar membrane. And third one is that the transport of gases by the blood. And the fourth one is diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide between blood and tissues. And the last and the final is utilization of oxygen by the cells for catabolic reactions, and it results in release of carbon dioxide. This is known as cellular respiration.